Welcome back to PJ's Coffee on Airline. I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer alongside Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill live on NewOrleans.Football. Look, I know everybody is probably still reeling after the Thursday night loss. It was a short week for the Saints. You guys have been talking about it all week, that this is going to come down to who wants it more. And look, the Jacksonville Jaguars came out and proved that they did want it more with a injured quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. I didn't see any injuries from that guy. We're going to be breaking it all down in today's episode.
Yeah, we're coming to you from PJ's on Airline, so if you need to get a cup of coffee, make sure you get out here and get that checked out. Get your day started every day with them. We're at the Airline location. Beautiful building here, so come by, check them out. And we're coming to you from the Mobile Toro Hospital Studio, so if you have any medical needs, check them out, the LCMC Medical Network. And if you need a new car, Matt Bowers is the place to go. Locations all over the Gulf Coast South region. So if you need a new car, they'll get you in, they'll get you out, the most painless experience possible, best prices you can find. All right, let's get into these ads. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Are you looking for the perfect engagement ring? Look no further than Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' new engagement salon. This new area houses a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from in all cuts, sizes, and colors. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect ring to express your love. Visit their new engagement salon today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the perfect ring for the perfect moment and also for the perfect person. 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett Street. 504-866-5433. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Check them out at friendandcompany.com.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief coffee.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is excited to announce their new engagement salon where they have a wide selection of engagement rings to choose from. And while you're there, ask them about their fleur-de-lis collection of earrings and necklace that I have on now. They're especially priced for our NOF audience. All right, let's get into the lead topic. Look, the Saints did show some fight in last night's loss to the Jaguars, down 24-9 at one point. They tie it up in the fourth quarter, but ultimately fall 31-24. What did we learn about this Saints team last night?
I don't know. In some ways, it kind of felt like it was the worst it's ever been, just because, man, that was a depressing loss. Like, it almost would have been better if they just got smoked.
Yeah.
And then you come into this and you'd be like, all right, what do they change? How do they get better? How do they make changes? What do they need to do? But the way they lost, the manner in which they lost, I think it allows them to kind of look at it and be like, oh, well, like, it's inconsistent. We're close. If we fix X and Y, we get the Z. And it's just like, does Z exist? Like, I don't know if it does. They got to find a way to get there. Season's almost halfway over. Like, I'm starting to doubt it a little bit. It almost would have been better off if they just had not scored a touchdown. Like, if they just went 3-3 in each quarter, and it kind of ends there. So I I don't know. Like I feel like in some ways, like it would have just been better to have to come face to face with the underbelly of what's going on.
You're right. I mean, the first half I think was bad enough, though. The first 40 minutes were bad enough, though, that they cannot ignore. I hope they cannot ignore how bad it was. In some ways, it was their worst 40 minutes of the season, and we've been hammering this offense. I didn't think they could look worse, and they looked worse for 40 minutes. Now, they did look good at the end. And I hope that doesn't mean, oh, all right, everything's going to be fine. But I think it drives home the point of why this season sucks so much is I think last year, I said this after the last game, I think last year they were a bad offense, especially once they didn't have their quarterback, once they didn't have Michael Thomas, once they had some offensive line injuries. They were just a bad offense. This offense has so much damn potential, and that's why it's the most frustrating of these 3 bad offensive seasons in a row is because this one should be better, but no, it's not. And, I mean, Derek Carr and his receivers being on the wrong pages over and over again these last 2 weeks, it's too late in the season for that.
I know. For it to continue to be an issue is beginning to be the biggest issue now with the offense. But we did see Derek Carr come in the fourth quarter and really take over this game in a no-huddle offense in 3 plays, ties it 24-24. Why did it take until week 6 for us to see this Derek Carr that we kind of knew was there, but we just hadn't seen it?
Well, he says he's most comfortable in that environment, the hurry-up offense. I mean, it's funny. Almost everybody said, well, we can't be in hurry-up all the time. Eric McCoy was the one guy who said, if we have to be in hurry-up all the time to look like that, then let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm ready. You know, the big center is the one who is willing to be like, fine, I'll do it. If you know, whatever it takes to get them comfortable. But even in the hurry-up, we still saw – I mean, weren't they in hurry-up on the big play that everyone's dissecting today when Chris Olave did not run the route that Derek Carr expected? And Dennis Allen clarified that wasn't even like an adjustment that he didn't hear. Like, Olave did not run the deep route that was expected on that play, so Carr threw it away. And then we saw that again. We saw it once with Alvin. We saw it once with Rashid Shaheed. Even in hurry-up, they were still making those mistakes. But, I mean, I guess it's good to see that. We talked earlier about not being able to evaluate Carr at all. The first 3 weeks, the offensive line was so bad we couldn't really evaluate him. Next 2 weeks, he was dealing with the shoulder injury. We couldn't really evaluate him. These last 2 weeks, he's thrown 50 and 55 passes. We have all the evaluation we need. And this looks like an offense that just met each other sometimes.
Yeah, look, the hurry-up thing, it's just not – it's not feasible. You can't operate like that the whole entire game. Like, Eric McCoy saying, like, we'll go and do conditioning after practice is him saying we can't run like this the whole entire game. You can't do it. It's unreasonable. Like, it's just – you just can't. They ran like 80-some plays in this game. Yeah. You can't be on a fire drill like for 80-some plays the whole entire game. So, I mean, yeah, it looked a little bit better. I would try to figure out why did it look a little bit better. Is it because – like you're kind of taking the play calling out of it, and you have a menu of like 12 plays, and the quarterback's just kind of like picking them, and you're going through it?
Yeah, to me it was Derek Carr taking over, not necessarily being – obviously it helped being in the no-huddle hurry-up, but I've been waiting to see this Derek Carr quarterback, this veteran quarterback they went on and got, who they said is a guy that can take over and help win them games. They didn't win in the end of this game, but the fact that we finally saw that – oh, Derek Carr can take over a game. He can drive them down the field. It took 3 plays to tie the game, and he used Taysom Hill and Michael Thomas. Why did it only occur in week 6, and they struggled to even finish drives that are 9, 10-play drives?
Because, again, look, they got a playbook of these, and the bad thing about that hurry-up is that they've been running it for, like, 15 years, and they use the same hand signals, and if you know the hand signals, you know the plays that are coming. Yeah. Like, I wrote an article, it's on our website, like, breaking them down, and it's the same things. You see Derek Carr put the lotion on, cup his hands, like do different things, and you know exactly what plays are kind of coming with it. So that's the downside to it. I think they need to change some of those up, but like you cut down the menu of things. Everybody's on the same page. You aren't going to have miscommunications. Yeah. Derek Carr is just going to kind of call what he wants and know how to run it, and he's going to look at the defense, and if they're doing something else, he's going to go from rubbing on the lotion to cupping his hands and go to that play. So everybody kind of knows it. They're very familiar with it, and I think it just like eliminates that margin for error. So you go into it, and I don't know, like there's something to be said of like taking out some of the play calling, and then it kind of hums a little bit. And Carr even kind of spoke to that point after the game. He said like, "Well, I'm in full control," and da 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 da. So I don't know. It's interesting that it kind of worked out like that.
How does that happen for 15 years? I was actually just listening this morning. There's a college football team that's kind of under hairs right now for calling signs and watching signs. And they mentioned Bill Belichick used to be so finicky about that and so paying attention to what other people were paying attention to that he was constantly changing it. Did you see that when you were in
Bill
New England?
Used to film other teams. Like he got caught doing that, and then he had we don't know, but yeah, I mean the thought process is that Ernie Adams was sitting up in the office, kind of breaking all that stuff down. But yeah, they used to steal signals. Teams steal signals all the time. There's advanced scouts at games all the time trying to figure stuff out, trying to figure out tells. Taysom Hill used to have a tell where. When he had the mouthpiece in, he was running when it was in the side of his helmet. He was throwing the ball. So teams are looking for all that stuff. They're trying to pick up your signals on the sidelines. All that stuff. So, look, I mean, I'm sure there's teams that have picked up on the Saints stuff before. It's just kind of you got to be able to communicate it, though, too, and that's kind of the tough part of it. And when you're going full speed like that, you don't necessarily have somebody able to, call it in and get everybody in on the same page. So that's kind of maybe one of the ways that you're able to keep it. But, yeah, it's something that you should be changing quite a bit. You shouldn't be able to sit up in a press box and kind of be like, oh, I know the signal and this is a play that's coming.
Yeah,
and then
bizarre.
You're like, wait a minute. And, we did the story, and, seriously, we went back, 10 years, and we were finding plays from, 10 years ago that still fit some of the stuff. So that's one downside to it. But, yeah, you got to clean that up a little bit. And if you're going to do this all the time, you need a new system every single week.
That was back when we was you and Shireen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? We talked about this the other day because Pete Carmichael, when we talked to him, talked about the idea of simplifying the offense, quote unquote, and Dennis Allen said that was one thing that worked for the defense to hone in on what they do really well. I know you don't want to see them get rid of the motions and the shifts because those continue to work, I think, in this game, but somehow they need to figure out how this team can do what it does well, and stop doing the things that's screwing them up.
Here's my counter argument to that. There's 31 other teams that do all this stuff, and they're able to communicate, and it isn't screwed up. So, what's the problem?
We're not at the what's the problem stage where it's what's the solution stage. I'm saying, I mean, is that something they could do?
Well,
the fact that the hurry-up offense worked well just isn't more evidence that they need maybe some sort of less is more approach with this team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the thing is, though, if you can't teach it, then you get rid of the coach, and if the players can't learn it, get rid of the players. And I don't care who they are at this point. Look, I think Chris Olave has, superstar potential. I was probably the guy hyping him more than anybody, and I think that's still all there. But, if you have a thing where a guy's showing up to work and he's not working hard, at some point you got to take the work away from him. That's on you. You're allowing it to happen. So you can blame Olave and you can talk about it 3 weeks in a row, but if you don't make a move against him to get him in line and show everyone, hey, you have to run your out 100% every single time, that's on you as a leader. So leadership needs to step up and take control of that. We know the symptom. Now it's on you to find the cure. We can talk about Chris being wrong. Chris knows he's wrong. Chris has gotten called out twice. They said it after the Tampa game. Friday, DA talked about it. I asked him, I was like, hey, there's a lot of talk about him not finishing his routes. He's like, we need better effort on this stuff. So there's 2 public call-outs. Today was number 3.
Yeah.
If it's not fixed, that's on the coaching staff at that point.
No question. But I guess that's what I'm saying is if we're the experts here to figure out the solutions, I mean, if they've got multiple receivers that are not doing what they're telling them to do they have to ask them to do less, or would you replace the guy? I mean, where is the answer? That's what I want to know. Yeah, I mean, easy to say, let's get rid of these coaches, these players, and these plays, but what I want to know is where are they going to find the answers? I'd like to see this mini-buy help them find that.
I brought this up before, I think, but it's the one coaching decision that stands out to me more than anything else, my whole entire time covering the NFL, and it was a playoff game, and Wes Welker made these jokes about, the video had just come out. Oh, my God. About Rob Ryan and the foot stuff. And he did this press conference where he said the word foot 30 times.
Yeah, I remember that press conference.
And it just made Belichick irate. So Belichick benches him for the first quarter of the playoff game, and they lose the playoff game. And, Bill's explanation was, program's bigger than any one game. So it's bigger than any one player. And that's the stuff he had to do to kind of maintain that, super tight control. And, if you're going to do it to Welker, if you're going to punish Brady, call him out. That's the stuff you got to be willing to do to kind of create that culture where – there's nothing less than 100% buy-in, and he was willing to ruin a playoff run to make that point. And culture was bigger than one pursuit. So it's hard to argue with it considering like all the success they had. But I do think at some point, like if a guy isn't doing his job, you take the job away from him, and he's got to step back and look at it and wonder, and let everybody see that you did that, so that everybody else gets on point. And I don't know, like you're at a point like where if this is happening and you're screwing up multiple plays, you got to do something, I think.
Well, Chris did take questions on it yesterday, and he did say it was on him. So moving off,
reluctantly, or like, was he embarrassed? Did he not agree with what he was saying? It was a very reluctant answer.
To me, it was he had some veteran teammates around him, and before we even interviewed him, they were like, "Come on, Chris, like let's get up and kind of face the music." They didn't say that specifically, but the guys were kind of encouraging him to get up and talk about it and take onus. He did. Moving on, though, a player they are not going to be getting rid of anytime soon is Alvin Kamara. He is our player of the game presented by Hard Hide Strawberry Whiskey. Alvin Kamara, 62 yards on the ground, 91 receiving yards on 12 catches. Keep feeding him the ball, and I don't understand why at the end of the game, on the final set of downs in that last red zone trip, he wasn't used. And then we even saw him when the game was ending. He stayed away from the team, kind of off to the sideline. Not to say that has anything to do with bad body language, but the guy was frustrated. I mean, the game was right there for them to win, and he was not involved in those last set of downs. Why are we not getting the ball to Alvin Kamara?
Well, they wanted to throw a fade. So, the lowest percentage play in the NFL. It's crazy.
Two fades.
Yeah, multiple fades. And then there was a fade earlier in the game, too, the end zone fade. So, it's crazy to me. So, over the last 5 years, there are 3 guys with the worst quarterback rating on fades. Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, and then Derek Carr. And it's like 47.6 or 41.6. It's 40-something as a quarterback rating. Like, almost as bad as you could possibly be on those throws. You look at all the other guys. Now, Jameis isn't playing, so take him out of it. You look at the other guys, they haven't thrown an end zone fade in multiple years. It's like someone was like, wait a minute, they aren't good at throwing these passes. Saints say, you know what, let's go for 3 of them in one game. And none of them hit. Like, it's just crazy to me. So that's what you're going for. It's such a low percentage play. Mm-hmm. You're going to Chris Olave, who has had issues with contested catches. In one of the situations, pass isn't even high enough for him to have a shot at it. It was just like the one to Mike earlier in the game. It's like a low bullet. Like, it's just not a catchable pass. Like, Carr does not throw the end zone fade well. Like, he doesn't throw back shoulder passes well. I don't know why they kept going to it. I don't know why you wouldn't try to do something else. It was nuts to me. But, yeah, I agree with Alvin being the player of the game. And shout out to him. There's no one, like, more real than him on the whole team. Man. He's speaking to the pulse of things. He is, like, as close to being, like, completely fed up, I think, as you possibly could be.
No, he said he was pissed off.
Close to?
Yeah, he said it. He said it last night. He goes, look, what did he keep saying? He said, I'm pissed, but I'm blessed. He's like, I'm blessed to be playing. Like, football is such a small percentage of why they do what they – but he's pissed, and he's ready to get things fixed, and he was calling some people out.
What I mean, though, is, like, there's, like, a simmering going on here, and I think it's like, started out to, like, theoretically calling things out to, like, a little bit closer to calling something, and then, like, this time it was, hey, like, we used to do matchups, and we used to prepare for the opponents, like, their weaknesses and try to exploit them. Like, it used to be great. We used to play matchup ball. Now we don't play matchup ball. We're just kind of doing things. Like, it's getting, like, more and more, like, okay, I am sick of this, and it needs to be better, and it just keeps bubbling up, and I appreciate it. Like, it's the realest thing that's being said in that locker room right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I led my story with Alvin's comments where I'm pissed. Other words that I had to find parentheses for. Yeah. And then I was typing up his entire interview today, and I'm going to lead the fallout or use 2 more in the fallout. I mean, some people, it's funny because this is one of those questions that can go either way. Do you guys feel like you're close? And Michael Thomas, who I think is almost as real as anyone else in that room too, said, I do. He goes, that feeling like it's so close I can taste it. He goes, this is the first time where I felt like I can almost taste it. And he goes, I do, and he goes, I do feel like we're getting close. And other guys said that too. But Alvin, somebody said, you feel like you're getting close? He goes, no.
No, yeah.
He goes, honestly, no. I'm not going to be up here and lie to you. I don't think we're getting close. And I believe him. I mean, he goes, we lost this game. He said, I'm tired of being – I've never been a loser in my life, and I'm tired of being a loser. So the frustration is absolutely wearing on him, but he's the player of the game because the juice is still there. And those are 2 guys who I think if they can will themselves through effort to win the game, those 2 are really trying to.
Alvin also in that long press conference talked about Foster Moreau and the drop in the end zone. look, the pass was a little bit high, but it hit his hands, and Foster kind of put it on himself. What did you guys think from Foster's reaction after the game? I mean, the guy was completely tore up after that play.
I mean, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's gut-wrenching. I mean, you see him on the side. First of all, you mentioned how Alvin was reacting after the game. He walked off with his arm around Foster Moreau, so he was obviously being a good teammate in that situation. A lot of guys came to their defense. Eric McCoy had some great things to say about how Foster saved his butt a couple of times with some blocks. I mean, the guys felt for him. They knew how much he wanted to catch that pass. He said not only should he have caught it, that his route was too shallow and he should have run a better route and the ball was thrown in the perfect place. He said, oh, God, what were some of the words he said? Unacceptable. He said, like, embarrassing. Like, he was – I don't know if I've seen a player so broken up. It's hard not to feel for a guy in that situation.
Absolutely.
It was hard to watch the video. It was just hard to look at. Like, just you could see the pain on his face was crazy. Mm-hmm. It was tough to watch for sure.
Well, and it wasn't like, I mean, yes, that came at the very end of the game, but it wasn't his fault that they lost the game. And that gets into our moment of the game. Look, there were several opportunities at the Saints which they had back. The big one for me, which is our moment of the game presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, is Derek Carr's pick six. That was his fourth pick of the season, his first pick six with the Saints, and he has now thrown 15 pick sixes in his career, which is top 26 in all-time NFL quarterbacks. That, to me, was just when the Saints just needed something to go their way, and there's a pick six.
Yeah, the play was like, so you go through like the third downs in this game, and they were incredibly, like, that's going to be our film study. They were incredibly frustrating to watch. Like, so many missed opportunities. I think Carr missed a handful of throws. I think the receivers kind of left him out to dry on a handful of these. Like, this route here, like, he came out of it like so nonchalant, like, coming out of this route, like, it broke in, and it's hard to know if it was supposed to be flat or curl. Like, Carr kind of threw it like it was a curl. If it was a curl, like, Rashid didn't run the route. So it was just baffling to kind of watch it a little bit and try to figure out what was going on there, because it was just a total mess of a play, and no shock that it got picked off in return for a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, was that 3rd and 10 too? I mean, the two plays before it, I think, were equally. I mean, that was maybe their worst series of the entire game. They took off right after that. I can't believe they came back after that. That felt like can we just call game over right now and not even play the fourth quarter? But that one felt like it was on Shaheed not running to where Derek Carr thought he was going to be running to again, but. The moment of the game probably could have also been the time where Shaheed was wide open in the end zone and Derek Carr was looking right at him and didn't throw it, and then scrambled and then overthrew him in the end zone, and they missed on a touchdown there too.
That was crazy.
They're taking turns, just not working.
The Olave play was a 3rd down too, and there's a part of me, like, watching it, it still feels like you could have tried to hit Taysom underneath on the sideline. I don't know if, like, frustration boiled over and he bombed it just to make a point, but it kind of felt like there was still a threat. It would have been tight, maybe congested or whatever, but I don't know. But yeah, these 3rd downs were
3 of 18.
It was brutal.
3 of 18.
It was brutal to watch.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, it was brutal to watch.
It wasn't much better on the defensive side of the ball. Look, we've been hyping them up all season. The performances that we've been seeing from them. Look, Christian Kirk absolutely torched the Saints defense in the fourth quarter. What happened on that play when you watched it back?
They just got smoked.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's weird with this defense. It's like they hold tight, and then, like, there's just always eventually, like, the massive break. But it's almost hard to fault them a little bit, because, like, they are so, I don't know, like, they've just been so on point the whole season. It's like, okay, they gave up one play. Like, how about the offense scores from the 6-yard line? You know, give them a little bit of help. But time of possession was crazy though too. Like, they weren't even on the field that much. So
they gave up 3 touchdown drives in this game, and all of them were that quick.
Yeah.
So that also contributed to the time of possession. It was like touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out, touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out, touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out, turnover. Like, I mean, it was crazy. They played so good for so many stretches of the game, but their 3 breakdowns were all pretty egregious. On that one, though, Tyrann Mathieu explained, I mean, we could see it right when we were looking at it. They did such a good job of clearing out the entire right side of the field. So when Christian Kirk comes across a step ahead of Tyrann Mathieu, which is a matchup that I'm sure the Jaguars love, there was just clear sailing for the next 44 yards. A couple guys missed some tackles that they could have maybe tackled him at the 10-yard line or something. But again, Tyrann Mathieu credits the play call, great play call. And every time I hear that, I'm like, what? Why don't the Saints have one of those.
Right.
Like just one time where they have a easy 44-yard touchdown on a great play call that just designed its way into the end zone.
It wasn't just Christian Kirk. Travis Etienne had some success early on in the game. The guy from Jennings, Louisiana. Look, Travis Etienne is somebody who was one of three people, in my opinion, who really had success against the Saints. Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne, and Trevor Lawrence. What injury? What knee brace?
59
The guy
rushing
looks fine
yards.
to me. I mean, was that a facade to get the Saints kind of maybe?
No, it shows what an epidemic this scrambling QBs have become for them. Happened with Jordan Love, happened with Baker Mayfield. Thank God they're not about to face Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields. I don't know how ugly that would get.
They can't stop quarterbacks from running. It's just kind of been their Achilles heel forever.
Yeah. Look, now the defense struggled on a short week. How does the defense rebound now with 10 days? What are some of the things that they should be working on as they get prepared to go take on the Colts?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the defense too much. I think they'll be all right. And Gardner Minshew is he's Gardner Minshew. Like, they did a good job against him. Yeah, last year playing against the Eagles just knocked the birds out of the sky. So that was a win for them for sure. But Minshew's kind of the same guy, so I don't expect that to be too hard of a matchup. It's something that the Saints should be able to. They should be able to hold them down. I mean, it's a game they should be able to win, but this team is just kind of. It doesn't matter.
I trust the defense too.
Yeah.
I think the schedule is great, and those two elements have been there for most of the season, and they haven't taken advantage.
Yeah. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we still have our question of the day, our money play, as well as we go around the NFC South. We'll be right back.
Score big with a kickoff combo at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Each comes with fried shrimp, garlic herb fries, and your choice of soft-shelled crab, our famous thin-fried catfish, or traditional catfish, starting at $10.99 at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
No loan payments for 90 days with local financing from Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union on your next auto, boat, RV, ATV, or motorcycle. That's right, no loan payments for 90 days when you close your loan by December 31st. Jefferson Financial offers easy-to-use online applications, fast decisions, and local personalized service. The financial products you want with the convenience you deserve. We are Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Toro, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care and newborns to seniors, at Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the mobile Turo Hospital studio where we are live on Airline at PJ's Coffee. Even this PJ's Coffee can't bring us up. We're dealing with a little bit of a bug coming back from Houston. We're on the tail end of it, though, so excuse the coughing you'll hear throughout the show. But I feel like our energy matches how this fan base feels after the Saints loss. We're going to continue breaking it down real quickly before we get off of this, because we did talk pretty heavily on the miscommunication between Derek Carr and Chris Olave. Mike, you had a chance to talk with Dennis Allen today. Anything that maybe came to light with what's going on between quarterback and wide receivers?
Yeah, he had his post-game conference call, and, he was asked specifically, because that play is being dissected all over social media today. It's sort of emblematic of what we've seen on 10 or 12 different plays over the last couple of weeks. But on that specific one, he said, Taysom Hill's coming underneath, and Chris Olave is supposed to run the clear out, and he said Chris Olave did not run the route that he was expected to throw on that. Now, you could probably, as Nick said, question whether Derek Carr should have chosen Olave as the guy he wanted to throw to on that. It didn't, looked like the corner played it really well, and Chris Olave wasn't going to get open on that. But obviously, Derek Carr, even though he said, I was just yelling in general, he was clearly yelling. I mean, I think you could read his lips, what are you doing, or something to that effect. He thought Olave should run deep, and I think Allen called it a throwaway on that play. So, that's why it ended up sailing out of bounds or whatever. But, I mean, that was clearly a play where they specifically said, Olave didn't run the route he was supposed to. I think if he had run the route he was supposed to, I don't think it was going to work, though.
Yeah, but I was wondering if he threw it away because he wanted Chris to clear out the cornerback so that he had more room underneath to throw to Taysom, maybe. I don't know.
Allen's explanation made it seem like he wanted to throw it to Olave. But yeah,
I don't even understand that then. Like, he must have, decided that before the ball was even snapped because, Taysom was wide open underneath it. Like that doesn't make sense. That's kind of
we've seen that a lot.
That's kind of really hard to understand.
Opting for that deep shot. I mean, I think there were two wrongs on that play, honestly, from that standpoint. But it seems like he's, for better or for worse, it worked in week one. The go route to Shaheed. Remember when we were celebrating that? It feels like 2 seasons ago. But it feels like that's the one he wants to make up for things with sometimes, especially at the end of the last 2 games.
I don't know. What did you guys think of it? I didn't necessarily like how loud the correction was after that play either. And then there was a moment on the sideline where Pete and DA were kind of having an animated discussion for 2.5, 3 minutes. I don't know. I felt like that maybe could have been a little bit quieter, possibly. Corrected on the sideline, maybe not on the field. I don't know. It felt like it could have been handled a little differently.
I think when you are having week-to-week issues with miscommunication, you're going to see that frustration. Now, depending on the way you view a game, I don't see any issue with seeing the sideline being amped up. To me, it means they care. They want to get it corrected. There are frustrations. I'd rather see that than, all right, we just messed up and walk back to the bench. I'd rather see some animation and things going on because, look, you have so much talent on the field. We continue to be a broken record on this. I don't understand why there's still these issues. And look, this might be – we're not in the meeting rooms. We're not at the practice facility. Some of these issues might be really deep-rooted that we just don't know the full picture on as to why Chris Olave, why Rashid Shaheed maybe – look like they're just still not being able to connect with Carr, that miscommunication, the way that we've been able to see Carr and Michael Thomas connect, even Carr and Taysom Hill connect. Why are we not seeing that consistently with Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave? It continues to be a big question, but no, I don't have any issue with seeing them be animated on the sidelines.
It depends. Sometimes that stuff can become divisive though. You could handle that stuff in-house and maybe not show someone up on national TV. It just kind of feels like maybe. Yeah.
Carr immediately came into the press conference and he wasn't even asked about it, and he's it was almost like his answer to the first question, where he said, first of all, I got to stop doing this. He knows that's bad for him. That's breaking the unwritten rules or whatever. He was obviously he can't mask that he was actually mad at those people because he was, even though he's saying it's just his frustration showing. But he knows that that's not what you're supposed to do. And yeah, I'm quite sure from watching this team's results that Carr has screwed up a dozen times, that the receivers have screwed up a dozen times, that the coaches have screwed up a dozen times. So any time that you are out there making it look like this guy screwed up, it's not fair because you've probably screwed up too. Yeah.
All right, this kind of gets into our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Is Carr missing reads something that can be fixed? The offensive line looked better. Is it sustainable?
Yeah, I think it can be fixed for sure, but I think it's kind of plainly obvious that he's having some issues coming into a new system. The receivers are having some issues getting on the same page with him. He's probably having issues getting on the same page with his receivers. It's just kind of up and down. And I think some of that, though, is, I think it is some receiver effort, too. So, it's just kind of something that they got to figure it out. I don't know if they can. I don't know. We're going to find out if they can or can't. This is a deep like we're into the season, 7 games. Like it's kind of at the point, like, can they figure it out? Like we assumed they would for a while. It started out at a point, and like the starting point, it feels like it's gotten worse. Like in some ways.
Like I said, I mean, do you remember this? Feels like 8 years ago, but 3 weeks into the season, it was an offensive line crisis, and Derek Carr got hurt in the 3rd game, and we really had no feel for what it looked like, and then he played with the injury. But like I said earlier, 105 pass attempts over the last 2 weeks. That is a real sample size, and it's been an ugly sample size the last 2 weeks.
Everybody's been asking about this. It got asked last night. The Jimmy Graham in the red zone question. Here's what DA had to say about this, quoting him. He said, it's a staff decision in terms of what we do, so I think anytime we are not successful down there, the red zone, everybody's going to want to know why you didn't do something else. We had a plan going in, and that was the plan. I hate that quote because to me it sounds like he wasn't happy with the plan, with Jimmy Graham not being maybe involved in the red zone more, or like to me there's a lot of underliers in there of like, what does this mean?
Or maybe he just wasn't happy with the question. I mean, we've heard Derek Carr say that a million times. Somebody's going to say, why am I not throwing to Alvin? And the next week they're going to say,
you brought in Jimmy Graham.
Like that,
they brought in Jimmy Graham to be this red zone package guy. So, I mean, the question's going to get asked to Dennis Allen. I just don't.
My interpretation of it was is just that we sat down and talked about this and we didn't play him. And that's why he wasn't in the game. I don't think it was like DA could change that in a second. So I think it was just, look, Jimmy Graham's 36 years old. It's not 2012 anymore. Like he can make some plays down there, but like if somebody else is in there, it's because they probably think that he's going to be a more effective player. Now, anything the staff does, I think it's fair to question them because they aren't getting results and the success isn't good. So somebody not playing, I don't know, maybe he is better than somebody that is playing. But you know, I just think it's kind of like, you know, people are envisioning something that doesn't exist anymore necessarily. Like I think Jimmy can make plays down there.
Jimmy Graham.
I think Jimmy can make plays down there. You scored a touchdown. There's probably ways you can get him involved, but like, you know, I was arguing with some guy on there like, well, throw the fade route. Well, the fade's at the knees. Like Jimmy Graham ain't catching that anyhow. Like it doesn't make a difference who the ball's thrown to in those situations. So, look, Drew Brees was like an extreme outlier. Like I was doing my study on the fades and like I ran the numbers back. I don't even know how far, like 2014, 2013 or whatever it was. Who's at the top of the list? Drew Brees. Everybody else underneath him. Like Drew threw that ball better than anyone because Drew threw every ball better than everyone. But like that's not reality. Nobody else throws it that way. The quarterback now wears number 4, not number 9. It's just a different time. Like he's 36 years old.
You nailed the answer though when you said when it's not working to the extent it hasn't worked on game-ending trips to the end zone 2 weeks in a row, then you are not allowed to say, we thought we had a better idea.
Yeah.
No, then your idea was wrong. So they should have used Jimmy Graham in those situations. And especially when Foster Moreau is the one dropping it. Like, everybody can quite simply say, isn't that the one play that Jimmy Graham's supposed to be running? Why is Foster Moreau the tight end you're targeting in the end zone when you have Jimmy Graham who is only playing in the red zone? So I get all that, but yeah, I mean, if Jimmy Graham, if they thought he could be more effective, they're trying to be effective too, and they've thrown 12 completions to Taysom Hill the last 2 weeks. Those would be Jimmy Graham plays if they thought he would run them better.
Here's another thing that I think should be like second guessed a little bit. Like they signed Jamal Williams, who had 17 touchdowns last year. The biggest weapon in the league is a running back from the 1 or 2 yard line. And they get to the 1 and 2 yard line, and they don't run Jamal Williams. Why is he on the team?
2 things.
He was hardly on the field.
Yeah, 2
last
things
night.
on that. I mean, he had a hamstring injury, and they didn't even have a full practice.
They activated him.
So maybe I'll give them the benefit of that.
He got snaps.
But what they did do is they used Colin Saunders at fullback. So the 1 yard goal line play, that was my favorite use of creativity.
Took you 4 downs to get there. And then it was like, oh, wait, like we got Taysom.
Yeah.
And now, okay, so you have these like 2 weapons, and it takes you forever to get to them. It was almost,
you're right.
It almost expired.
I do think after that, I mean, we just made Alvin the player of the game, and Alvin has now had like 30 touches 2 weeks in a row. But I would be very surprised if now, after a 10-day break, that is not a change that we don't see. Jamal Williams probably in almost all short yardage situations.
All right, let's get to our money play presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Michael Thomas's touchdown catch to tie it. I mean, to me, just those 3 plays beautiful. Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill. I think maybe Taysom Hill probably should have been somebody that was teetering with Alvin Kamara for player of the game too, because he came up in just in these clutch moments, and he was a guy who continued to be the jack of all trades, still involved heavily on special teams. He's somebody who proved his worth last night in the game. But Michael Thomas.
Let me interrupt real quick. Brooke had a great one-on-one with him too. It's on our YouTube page with Taysom, so check out that interview.
Thank you. You had the one-on-one with Michael Thomas, audio, not video. I want to hear what he had to say, because weren't you with him for what? Was it 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes?
Yeah, it was a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Look, the touchdown there, at least they hit a deep fade after missing multiple deep fades the time before. So not all fades were bad, but the short ones were definitely really bad. But look, Mike's frustrated with he just kind of said like some of the stuff that's going on is just like guys putting in extra work, knowing what the quarterback wants, not leaving things to chance. And he kind of feels like there's a little bit too much stuff being left to chance right now in the receiver core. And when they're talking about communication and miscommunications and all that stuff, it isn't necessarily just like not knowing an audible or something like that. It's just all that stuff, like knowing where the quarterback wants to place the ball, so the ball goes there. It's the quarterback remembering where the receiver wants the ball, so the ball is placed there. So it's just all that stuff, and there just hasn't necessarily been enough of that. And for a guy like Mike, who you see just kind of putting in this like monotonous work during the summer, it's probably a little bit frustrating to see some of this stuff going on.
It's funny, Mike said 4 days earlier when he made he was actually talking about catches that Olave and Shaheed made, but he was calling them desperation plays. That's what that one felt like. Like when he had a chance to win that battle, that was the first time that the ball was even thrown anywhere where he had a chance to make a play on it. It almost felt like an interception. Like Michael Thomas was like, the ball is somewhere where I can get to it, I'm getting to it. Like he's been making those kind of plays a lot.
That throw is kind of emblematic of like the one thing that drives me the most nuts about this offense right now is it feels like so much of it is predicated on like trying to fit the ball between a cornerback playing cover 3 in the sideline, and you're trying to make a play like in these like very small tight windows, and it just like eschewing the whole rest of the field.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's so much like the Olave throw is another one. It's just like you're just trying to fit so much like up. I don't.
A lot of forcing it in games.
I don't understand it.
Before we get to around the NFC South and close this out, can the offense be fixed?
Would Alvin say?
No. No, not if we keep doing the same.
Yeah.
Do our sponsors allow me to finish that quote?
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, I think can it be fixed? Yeah, can it be fixed? Will they fix it? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't think any of us could say they can.
Because I remember Alvin, I used that in the dot last night. Alvin was asked, do you feel like you guys got closer to what you can be? And he said no. Of course he said no. They lost the game. Yeah. Why would he say they got closer to that? Yes, they had a couple good drives, but they've had a couple good drives in training camp. They've had a couple good drives in the preseason. They've had a couple good drives every other game. It doesn't matter when you're not stringing together wins and you're struggling to score points. Were they finally able to score points last night? Yes, but there's issues with Blake Grupe being inconsistent. There's issues with your wide receivers being inconsistent. Derek Carr being inconsistent. Like, I don't want to make it seem like we're just saying that Derek Carr is blameless. Like, he absolutely has to get things corrected.
Nobody is blameless.
Nobody is blameless. Maybe Taysom Hill is the only one who wasn't blameless last night. Michael Thomas was the only one who wasn't blameless last night. But, man, they had a
39-yard punt in game-saving time. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. A 39-yard punt. Like, that's wild.
All right, well.
Hit the upright on an extra point. That is crazy.
How about this for some levity? Panthers are still 0-6. They haven't won a game.
That's not levity because the Saints, there's like
Falcons?
a world where
I know.
They have their it's the Broncos draft pick, but I'm thinking about the Panthers had the number one, or in the battle for the number one draft pick.
Well, we're going to go around the NFC South. Panthers are 0-6. Falcons are 3-3. Bucks are 3-2. The Bucks will play the Falcons in Tampa Sunday. The Panthers will host the Texans. Look, fans are going to hate that we keep saying this, but the NFC South is still wide open.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And looking at who the Saints are going to be playing in the next 3 weeks, it's possible that the Saints could end up on top of the NFC South in the next 3 weeks.
I mean, they should, but they're not 3-4. They're 1-4 over their last 5 games. Like 2-0 was a long time ago. Like they're 1-4 over their last 5 games, and that's how I think they should be treating it. They better not be treating it like they're a game out of first.
Need to play the Kodak video right there. Maybe.
It's bad. It's bad. Well, look, we are going to wrap things up for this week. No game Sunday. The next time will see us is Monday. I believe we will be in studio in the Turo Hospital studio. But for now, I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer, Nick Underhill, Mike Triplett. Thank you guys for joining us live on NewOrleans.Football, and we'll see you next week.